You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
Alright, folks, well, happy Tuesday evening. That's right, at least it's no longer Monday. We are Jen and Rick. We're back to our Tuesday-Thursday schedule for now, pending the impending potential return of JD and Stacy with the Game On show. But we've decided to reclaim Tuesday. Unfortunately, scheduling and illnesses and Halloween and everything else has gotten in the way because we planned on doing this like several weeks ago. So this is our official relaunch for Tuesdays. But we are here, we are live, and we have lots of stuff to talk about because there's been lots of things going on in the news since, and it's been a while since we've done a show to begin with. Because unfortunately, Miss Jen was really, really sick last week, and at one point I thought she had like died or something because I hadn't heard from her in like 4 days, and I'm like, "Are you alive?" And she's not answering me, and I'm panicking. And then somebody from Twitter is like, "Oh no, I talked to her just today," and I'm like, "Oh, well, at least she's alive." Now, would she please return my text message?
It was funny. I had some sort of flu. I'm not really sure, but I finally broke down and went to the doctor, and that immediately helped. But I had been basically like, you know how sometimes when you're just like in such a feverish illness and you're just kind of like almost in a coma and you just barely functioning. You don't know what time of day it is. You don't know what day it is. You are just like barely surviving, trying to get through. And that's basically the state I was in for a few days. And I had just happened to, my tablet was sitting next to me. And I'd probably slept on top of it for like 2 days because I didn't even realize it was in the bed. And that's when I finally was like feeling a little bit better, and I opened it up and opened Twitter, and that's when I talked to our friend because I just happened to see his message because he'd messaged me and been like, "Hey, what's up?" You know, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, "Oh crap, there are lots of people I need to tell that I'm not that I'm okay, that I'm not dying." Though it felt like it at times.
Well, I'm just glad you're okay because, I mean, honestly, I'm a little paranoid and a little overly worried. So what worried me is right about the same time you fell off the map, there was another story about somebody running around Texas with a gun, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't. Nobody's talked to her, nobody knows where she is, and all of a sudden somebody was like, oh yeah, she's okay, and I'm like, oh thank God.
And then what was actually interesting about that was, so I told him, I'm like, I'm feeling so much better today. You know, I'm finally coming back to the real world. I'll be checking in with everyone, you know, whatever. And then about 5 or 6 hours later, I crashed again. And I was like, oh, I actually am not doing better. And that's why I had to break down and go to the doctor like a big girl. And then I finally actually started to really get better. But last Thursday was just an issue because I had no voice. So I actually had my voice the entire time I was sick. And then right as I started getting better, I developed this little cough and I just completely lost my voice. It didn't hurt. I wasn't feeling terrible, but I just could not speak.
Yeah, no, and mainly joking. I'm just glad to find out you're okay. It's just it wasn't like you because I was like, you know what? I realized I haven't really heard from you since like Sunday, so I started checking your Twitter account, and I'm like, well, she tweeted on Sunday, so I know she's probably okay. because that was right about the time the first story about Texas broke, and I'm like, And then so I'm like, but I still really haven't heard from her in a few days. So I started texting. I think it was probably about 8 o'clock. I was like, so we good for tonight? You didn't respond. And then I was like, no.
And I woke up at like 4 a.m. that night. I was like, oh, I'll take a nap. And then I'll wake up about 7 and we'll do the show. And I'm totally fine. And then, and then I'll get some more rest. And nope. I went to sleep about 6 and I didn't wake up until about 4 a.m.
Well, obviously you needed it, so I'm just glad you're okay. But there have been lots of things going on in the news while you were in your little flu-induced coma. So, we'll kind of touch on the hot points, because there's something that I haven't really been able to keep up with this week, because there was a story that I just noticed this morning. Because for those of you who don't know, the state of Oklahoma and our entire legislature is basically on fire, so I've been kind of embroiled in that stuff. But I saw something this morning that I really couldn't seem to make heads or tails out of, and I don't know if you've seen anything about it yet, but apparently there's this big brouhaha about Donald Trump Jr. and something to do with WikiLeaks, and I'm, like, really confused. I'm just like, what are we even talking about?
I haven't really seen much about it. I saw some little headline saying something, or I think it was a moment on Twitter maybe, but I hadn't really looked into it.
I just didn't know maybe you'd seen anything about it, because like I said, in between the day job going nuts and things being like completely crazy about with the whole local election stuff here, I just really haven't been keeping up with the national level stuff very well. So I guess there's some sort of big deal about some secret correspondence between Trump Jr. and WikiLeaks. Some group called the Transparency Organization asked the president's son for his cooperation in sharing its work in contesting the results of the election and in arranging for Julian Assange to be... What the hell? Something about Assange is supposed to... This has got to be fake. Hang on. It's the first thing that pulled up, but there's no way this is true. It says something about Assange supposed to be Australia's ambassador to the United States. He's not even... What?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no.
Well, yeah, I'm seeing here. There definitely is something. I'm looking at it on the Atlantic.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. I'm like, did somebody like hack the Atlantic? Because that just doesn't even make sense to me. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, it just seems that regardless of what happened, it seems like there is some evidence that they were in communication, that he was in communication with WikiLeaks, and that it was about the election, which is just, as with everything else with both of those campaigns, is not good.
Well, I mean, for anybody with half a brain, we knew going into this thing we were basically picking from the worst of the worst. That's why I didn't vote for either one of them. Both campaigns stunk. I mean, look at it like this. You've known me for a long time now. I was so upset by the fact that Trump was the nominee that I actually changed my political affiliation, and I voted for the edible brownie marijuana guy. I'm just saying.
Yep.
I mean, but, it's so, now we're like, it's basically, Hillary's campaign breaks something, and Trump's campaign says, hold my beer. Trump's campaign, some sort of new scandal comes out, and Hillary's like, yeah, hold my beer. And it's just back and forth, where it's like, which one's worse? And I'm just over all of it at this point. I just want to know who did what, when they did it, was any of it illegal, and if it was, impeach or arrest anybody that we can and move on, because I'm done with all of it.
Yeah, I'm really, really tired of the election stuff. I mean, like you said, if there is something to find out that should require some sort of prosecution, then let it be done. But man, this is just going on and on and on, and there are so many hearings still. There's still ongoing investigations, and a lot of it has to do with interference, not necessarily rigging. And interference can be anything from like the stuff that we found out that advertising bought on Facebook, but these are all things that you can't prohibit. I mean, you can't really keep people from another country, whether on behalf of their government or not, in a system like we have in a capitalistic society like we have, you're not going to be able to keep some of that from happening. Now, what we don't want to see be the case, and hopefully was not at all, was that there was actual collusion with the Russian government between a campaign and that government. But most of what people seem to keep finding and are not happy about is that there was interference or influence, and those kinds of things are going to happen, and we actually participate in doing them in other countries. So, unless there's something criminal and they find something really soon, I'm just really ready to be done with 2016.
I mean, think about the sentence that you just said. You're ready to be done with 2016. We're rounding the corner towards 2018, and we're still talking about the 2016 election cycle. I don't remember a time in history short of the 2000 election with the hanging Chad thing, because I was just thinking about that because my son actually turned 17 today. My son was actually born because, the election, in 2000, it was November 8th, November 9th. It was like my son was born on the day that they finally decided to give up and just say, you know what, screw it, Bush is president, we give up, we quit. So we're talking about 6-7 days that this thing was contested. This has literally been an ongoing, we should be like Kenya and find a way to overturn this election or abolish the Electoral College. This has been going on now for over a year. We are to the point now where we have passed 2016. We're almost all the way through 2017, and people are still like, 2016 sucks. Okay, well, 2016 is over, so why have we still not moved on? Politically, philosophically, emotionally, everybody's still in the same place. They're all looking at November the 9th, and we've still got the same group of people that were hanging out in their college campuses, in their pajamas, scarfing down pizza at warp speed with their emotional support animals that are still screaming, going, this isn't fair. I mean, geez, to celebrate the 1 year election of Donald Trump, these morons in like 13 cities went out and yelled at the sky, for God's sake.
I know, it's so true. It's so ridiculous.
It's just, I'm over all of it. Look, and I've said this basically since the beginning. All I want to know is the truth. If the Trump campaign did something they shouldn't have that resulted in the election being compromised somehow, I want to know what happened so we can punish whoever we need to punish, fix whatever laws we need to fix, and move on. If the Clinton campaign, which almost 9 times out of 10 lately, everything that we find seems to slowly keep pointing back to those folks more than it does Donald Trump, until this whole, basically the secret Twitter DMs between Junior and WikiLeaks, which, I mean, dude, if they're like talking back and forth on Twitter and they're talking about, we've got this big dump coming, we want you to push it, what exactly is illegal about that, or even untoward for that matter? I mean, we're talking about an information dissemination source. The left was all really, really gung-ho about WikiLeaks until about 30 seconds ago. I've never liked WikiLeaks one way or the other. I don't like the concept behind them. I don't like the fact that they were leaking information about troop movements and everything else when we were in the middle of the Iraq War and heavily in the Afghan War. So, I mean, I've never really been a fan of WikiLeaks, but it's like everybody else is just like, 1 second they're the best thing since sliced bread, and then they're the devil. And I'm so tired of, the story or the flavor of the story changing depending on which side they think WikiLeaks is on at that particular point. I'm over all of it. I just want to know who did what and when so that we can punish whoever needs to be punished, fix it to make sure that it can't happen again. But this crazy idea that nobody can mess with our elections, that's insanity, because, like you said, we do it all the time. We have been meddling in other people's elections and influencing them for about as long as we've been a country. And the fact that we don't expect other people to do the same just proves how naive we are, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think so too. And to act so incredulous about it, like, they're trying to manipulate a certain sector of the citizenry in certain ways. Then they've picked up on those cues and they've made Twitter bots to help fuel it, and other social media, manipulation. I mean, unfortunately, that's the world we live in now. And I think that it's only going to get worse. And not just for things involving the United States. I just think around the world, it's just that's where we're at. And technology and the global the ability for us to be so immediately globally connected is going to change all ways in which elections are carried out and the outcomes of them, and then possibly even, other inner workings for, I think, the rest of time, basically. I mean, it's just a different world, and we have to accept that. And you can figure out as a party, as a campaign, how to kind of combat that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everything needs the government to step in and make some big stink about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, the last thing we really need is the government in the middle of anything, to be honest. I mean, the government really, when it comes down to it, the government used to basically have three simple things that they were supposed to do. That was common defense, and, well, actually, I guess it was really just kind of two. Common defense and commerce are the big two. That used to be the government's big thing that they were supposed to do. They were supposed to provide defense for the states and basically protect us from foreign enemies. And basically they were supposed to regulate trade between the states. That was really the gist of what our government used to be about. And now it's this big behemoth mess nightmare that everybody keeps talking about how much they want to change it, but nobody ever actually does. And, that's another thing, because everybody keeps talking about what a great job Donald Trump's done. But the thing about it is nobody's really talking about the things that he has done, because we're too busy focusing on the scandals. He has actually done some pretty remarkable things. He's gone in and actually, unfortunately, through executive order, which is usually the only way that you can undo a previous president's executive order, which, as far as I'm concerned, those things should basically be unconstitutional unless you're pardoning a turkey. He's undone a lot of the bureaucracy that the Obama administration put into place. Some of this stuff I didn't even know existed until I had seen that he had done things to start undoing it. I mean, it's just crazy the amount of basically just stuff that he's made go away with the swipe of a pen. But nobody's talking about it because we're all so busy, did the Russians do this? When did he know that they did this? If he knew that they did it, when did he find out? Why hasn't he done anything about it? I mean, I heard Jeff Sessions again today talking about this stupid Papadopoulos dude, and he's like, I don't know, or whatever the last name is. I know that's not it, because I'm confusing him from the dude with, I think, Full House or something. But but anyway, so I heard him again today, revising his statement a little bit. Well, I remember meeting with him, but I had nothing to do with anything that was untoward, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I just... why are we still talking about this? What point does this serve? What annoys me about all of this, because now that we know that the Russians have been heavily involved in social media, and they've basically been taking both sides of an argument and building up really big accounts, which is kind of an odd thing, because when you think Twitter bots, you don't think of, really well-known accounts with large followings, and you're like, holy crap, that was a bot? Because there were a couple of those names that they put out when they figured out what was happening, and I'm like, I never actually followed that account because it seemed a little off, but I never really figured it was a bot. I thought maybe it was, because some folks have those team accounts where more than one person can actually be in them, so the flavor of the tweets can be a little bit different here and there, so you can kind of tell when somebody else is in there. And that's just kind of what I thought when I saw the off stuff, was it was just one of those big political team accounts. Turns out it was one of those Russian paid troll bot things, and I'm just like, that thing had hundreds of thousands of followers, large interactions, big retweets, and it was a bot? I mean, to me, that all of that just seems crazy. But knowing that they did this, now that we know it, and that we know that they're on both sides of an issue, and they're trying to keep us mad at each other 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by picking out things that, by keyword search, that they know that we're arguing about, and making it worse, the fact that we still know they're doing this, and still refuse to come together as a nation, is what's really starting to piss me off, to put it really bluntly. Because we know this is happening, we know we're being manipulated, and we're still just like, but I hate these people, so stab them all in the face.
Well, do that and go to jail. But I do think that, the whole point is the division, right? That's the whole point of them having these bots. And I was surprised by some of those bigger accounts. Some of the ones they named, I wasn't so surprised, because I was like, it just never really, there was never any really personal interaction. They always just put out these really, bold statements, and then just got a ton of retweets. And, I always thought those are the type of accounts that buy their followers. so that they can try to build those numbers up and look bigger than they are. But it actually be bots was quite funny, actually. And also like, whoa, that's so weird because so many people were so like there were a lot of people that were on the same side of some of those people that were very invested in those accounts and constantly retweeted them, talked to them all the time, and that's just like, can you imagine if there was someone that you kind of thought, this is someone I look up to. They're saying everything that I want to be said. Now they follow me and they're this big account and they've done interviews and like all of this other stuff. And then it's like, oh, they're not actually a real person. That would be so strange. And that's what happened with like 8 or 9 huge mega accounts this year.
Yeah, I mean, that just floored me. Like when I saw, honestly, I don't even remember their names now, but I remember when they put the article out, I was like, wait, I've seen that account before. That was a bot. But it's just like now, even that we know, it's just like nobody cares. Nobody cares that at this point, there probably still are outside interests influencing our discussions on social media using hashtags and word searches, and nobody cares. I mean,
well, I think part of the problem here is that they might be manipulating it some, and by manipulating, I think that just means they're engaging more people into the conversation, and they're trying to be, maybe they're like being inflammatory, and they're putting out another side that then they get a lot of people that start being in on it too. But they're just capitalizing on stuff that we're already talking about. It's not like, it's not like anything that's going on here is all that so far-fetched that we're just being completely like molded into, talking about or thinking or seeing something that isn't already kind of right there anyways. So I think when some of the Democrats or people on the left are really like getting up in arms about, and the Russian bots were driving social media, I think that's just really dramatic. I think they were inserting themselves and they were capitalizing on it, and they were buying followers and doing all that kind of thing to have more influence. But I think that this is partially most of the content that they drove and the topics that they drove were already there, and they just propelled them.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not necessarily disagreeing about that point, but there was one particular story that I came across. I actually heard it talked about here locally, and then I went and found it, and it was something I was going to try to have us talk about last Thursday, but that didn't happen. So that's kind of why we're going all over all the stuff over the last week before, since we didn't really do one for last week. But one of the stories that I came across it came out that there were 2 separate paid accounts that were on both sides of an argument that were actually ginning people up to show up at counter protests with each other. So, I mean, we're not just talking about innocent stuff here to a point. We're actually talking about people that are finding ways. And I get what you're saying. It's all things that we're already thinking, already talking about doing, and people can't really be convinced to do something that they weren't already going to do anyway. But we're literally talking about the same people on 2 sides of an argument doing everything they can to spin everybody up and bring them out into public and have a big counter protest with one another.
Oh, yeah.
And that to me is just, as soon as I found out that was going on, that's when I started trying to talk to people, and I'm like, why are we still letting people do this to us? You don't know anything about these people on social media that have got you spun up. I mean, if these aren't people that you talk to on a regular basis, that you interact in with ways other than Twitter, etc., you don't really know who they are. So why are you getting so invested in the things that they're telling you to the point where you're ready to go pick up a tiki torch and a pitchfork and go march somewhere? First of all, you should never take a tiki torch out of anywhere other than your backyard because it makes you look gay. Just saying.
Well, and that's the whole point, though. The whole point is for the division and for a little bit of chaos. That it's not to make. I think that they have really. I think the left has really focused on that. The whole point of all of this Russian interference was to get Trump elected, and there was some secret deal there. I think that they are just completely wrong. I think the entire point was to divide America further and to create chaos and to create and maybe hopefully that elects Trump, and then they know that a good chunk of the electorate will think him invalid and will not respect or recognize the presidency, and that maybe they can create even more chaos and more unrest. And then that makes America weak, which makes it good for Russia. So I think it's more along that lines than it is there's some sort of Russian Trump collusion and they are best buddies and make out in the closet. Like, I mean, it's all about dividing America in order to make her easier to conquer.
And that is exactly what it's about. And that's one of the reasons why I've been trying to get everybody's attention about it. And everybody's just like, you're just a Trump hater. And I'm like, no, I'm really not. I didn't vote for him. I'm not. I don't lie to anybody about that. But I'm not the guy that's going to root for the iceberg while we're sitting on the Titanic. And, that's why this persistent resistance and never Trump movement thing it astounds me now. Because that basically means that you are rooting against the guy that is currently at the helm of the plane that we are all flying in, and you're praying for him to hit the ground while we're all still in here. That doesn't work for me. I can't do it.
Well, I think I think that there are a lot of people that were never Trump or even still consider themselves necessarily never Trump, that it's still not the same way as there's a group of them that have gone psychotic and deranged, Trump derangement syndrome. And then there's a group that are still like,
you, brother. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? My bad.
That are just, still pretty opposed to him, but they've not gone off that deep into where everything about it is wrong and everything is bad and all of that kind of thing. And so there are different levels to all of it, I think. And the same thing there are some very pretty strong Trump supporters that also are not just completely drinking all the Kool-Aid. And then there are people that it would not matter. That whole thing that he said way back when, if I shot someone on Fifth Avenue, that is the same kind of thing that they are still like that. And they are absolutely obsessed and there can be no single criticism whatsoever, can do no wrong. And so you've got all these levels from right to left. And the people that are just opposed to him for the heck of being opposed to him and will listen to no rhyme or reason about anything else and want everything blamed on him are just as bad as the people that are just blindly following every word and not allowing for there to be any wiggle room and excusing anything that they want, that they normally wouldn't excuse for a Democrat, they're excusing because of this. And that, just won't even take time to think about it and critique and form their own opinion on something because it doesn't matter. They're just going to follow him regardless. And so you've got both sides of the coin that are just kind of insane. And then you've got a middle that are struggling to figure out what to do. And that's just kind of where we are. And it makes it really hard on the rest of us that are not extreme one way or the other, and that we're mad some days and then we're glad about some things. And then we're, but then I take offense to people being like, oh, all the this group does this and this and this, and all the this group is like this and this and that. No, because I've got friends that are pretty good Trump supporters, and I considered myself never Trump for the most part. I didn't like tweet it with the hashtag and stuff, but I mean, for the most part, I considered myself never Trump. But I still think that this person, some of my good friends that are Trump supporters are not all, they're not all deranged and blindly loyal. And then I know so many in the never Trump crowd that are not deranged and, blindly against. And so those of us that are in the middle that just disagree on some things and don't all have the same ideas about how some of this should go are the ones that are trying to have the grown-up conversations when we've got a bunch of screaming toddlers in the room and they're the ones in control, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I'm kind of right there with you because I was pretty much never Trump for as long as I could be never Trump. But I actually was kind of nuts with the hashtag thing because I actually kind of, I'm not sure if I'm actually the first one that ever tweeted it, but I know that right after I started using it, Brownie Boy used it, Make America Sane Again. Was something
the only reason I didn't use it is because there were so many, it was so trolled. Same thing with MAGA. Any of those things, any of those hashtags, they were just trolled so heavily. And so by the time I really, was in the position where I was saying this is, how I feel about it, and this is kind of the group that I feel like I'm most have in common with right now, it just wasn't even worth it anymore to put that out there.
All right. Well, at this point, we're going to take a really quick break because we've been kind of fast-forwarding through last week's major stories. When we come back, we've still got basically the one that really started coming out towards the end of last week. When we come back, we're going to get our 2 cents in about this whole Moore thing in Alabama. Not to mention the fact that I thought I saw on Twitter earlier somebody called him Roger Moore, which I'm just like, huh? But anyway, so we'll be back here in about 4 minutes. Stay tuned. This is the Jen and Rick Show right here live on KLRNradio.com. We'll be right back. Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
All right, folks, welcome back. We are live. This is JandR Rick coming to you live from KLRNradio.com. We do this thing typically every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, and then this show will be immediately followed by America Off the Rails. Be a couple minutes late start because, as usual, computers are trying to take over the world and Skype hated us. Mine decided to do a random update, even though it already updated twice this week. It decided it needed to do another one, so it took me forever to get it to open. But anyway, so back to the show. For the last part of the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about this whole Judge Moore thing, because it's just, to me, we need to have a serious talk, because here's the thing. Because all of these people, and I'll let you expound on it in a second too, because I know you have kind of the same thought I do on it. For all these people that right now are telling me that I need to wait for due process and I need to do this and I need to do that, we still have the ability to discern things in this country. We have the ability to form our own opinions. I am not a judge. I'm not a police officer. I'm not even somebody that can vote for Moore because I don't live in Alabama. But I can tell you what bothers me about his story are his inconsistencies, the fact that we don't have these type of issues with we need to wait for due process when Kevin Spacey is accused. We didn't have these type of issues about due process when Bill Cosby was accused. We didn't have these type of issues about due process when Bill Clinton was accused. But the funny thing is the Democrats did, other than for like Weinstein and Spacey. For Clinton, they were like, we need to really just wait and see what happens with the facts because we're not sure we believe these women. And Hillary was basically tarred and feathered for saying she didn't really believe these women. But, it's fine because, we're, I guess, the rush to judgment party when it's on the other side, as long as it's on the other side. But then when it's our turn and it's on our side, we're supposed to wait for all the facts, just like we yell at all the Democrats about doing. Look, I don't know if Moore is guilty or not. I will tell you this, though. As a Christian, I firmly believe that at some point he will have to stand up in front of God and everybody and explain and account for everything that he did in this life. And even if he's never found guilty in this life, if he did those things, he will stand before a judge one day and have to answer for those things. That is where my involvement in this stops, other than my ability to form my own opinion. I don't trust the man based on what's coming out, and I don't think that he would make a good part of the government for Alabama, but that's not my decision. What concerns me, though, is this is a race that never should have been as close as it is in Alabama right now because of all the other things that are coming out about Moore. Like the fact that he actually was removed from the Alabama Supreme Court because he tried to bring in a Ten Commandments monument in the middle of the night without talking to any of the other judges. And then he basically is made to recuse himself, steps down, then he gets voted back in a few years later, and then he thumbs his nose at the federal Supreme Court over gay marriage. This is not, if this was somebody that was of the Muslim faith talking about the fact that there shouldn't be any bacon in Alabama, we would all be freaking the hell out right now. And that's my problem. I am a Christian just as much as anybody else, but I don't want somebody that is so myopically Christian that they're going to force their views down the throat of everybody else in this country, because that's not what I believe this country is about. But that's just me. Well,
I think the biggest problem for me with Moore is, so a bunch of people say, well, he is a Christian and a moral man, and it's outside of his. Well, actually, no, because he has shown through all of this, whether you agree with those laws or not, he has shown that he disregards the law when he believes something different or when he wants something different. So how does that relate to this whole idea with these girls? Well, quite a few of them were of the age of consent. And so while that doesn't mean that there wasn't something untoward that happened, it also doesn't mean that there was some sort of misconduct that happened. They were of consent, and that's fine, I guess, if you're okay with that. But there's also the main accuser who says she was 14 when he basically groped her and kissed her, and that shows that is another way in which he disregarded the law. He was a man in a position of power. He knew the law very well. He was a district attorney in his 30s, multiple degrees. So my main problem is, and maybe that didn't happen that way. I am not sure. And here's the thing about the due process. We, like you said, we're not judge. We're not in a court of law. I am not a court of law. I do not need a court of law in order to make to look at the information, read the allegations, read his statements, listen to his statements, and then come to a reasonable decision on what my opinion is of the matter. And unfortunately, I find the people that have detailed their accusations and then the sources that have backed them up, I find them incredibly credible. And I also extremely credible, I should say. And also, I find his response to the entire situation not only insufficient and, lacking, but it does not instill any confidence in me of how he could continue further as a lawmaker of this country in the ways in which he responded to these questions, that his team has handled them, and they have completely bumbled this entire thing. When you and the people that are screaming at me about due process, like you said, Kevin Spacey, George Takei, like they did not wait for that. And the very same day that a bunch of this stuff was coming about Moore, it was or more details were coming out about the stuff with Moore. George Takei was accused of at one point, trying to rape someone or sexually harass someone. And those same people, and I even got into this argument with one person in particular. She's a follower of mine for a long time. And I said, I just went and looked at your TL. You're telling me due process, wait for the facts, just wait till the day that I'm falsely accused or one of my friends is falsely accused, and I won't be on such a high horse about it. And I said, I'm still not condemning him. What I'm saying is that this has not been handled well, and I don't have to wait for a due process to form an opinion, and I think he should step down. But you're the same person who I just went and looked through your TL, and you were retweeting all of the stuff about nasty Hollywood liberal men. You're retweeting the George Takei stuff. You're retweeting the Kevin Spacey stuff, the Weinstein stuff. So shouldn't you give them the benefit? Shouldn't you wait for the facts for them? And she basically said, no, because they're disgusting and we know they did it. But this man has never had his character smeared in 40 years. And her basic point was that the allegations are 40 years old, so they don't matter. Y'all need to get over it. Well, I'm sorry. That is not good enough for me. And the due process argument isn't good enough for me either, because even let's say we all know he cannot go to trial over anything. If there was misconduct, he cannot go to trial. The statute of limitations has been maxed many times over. However, is every person always guilty that are convicted? Do we think that that's the case? That every single person that is convicted is 100% guilty of the crime they're convicted for? No. Also, are all innocent? Are all those that are found innocent, or they are acquitted, or they have a mistrial, or maybe they can't even bring the charges because they lack some piece of evidence, or there was some mishandling of something in the paperwork? Does that mean that those people are innocent just because they did not go to prison for their crime? No, that's not what that means. It means given your day and given a fair trial and innocent until proven guilty in the eyes of the court and the law. That does not mean that I have to afford you that. And I will not afford you that. I will be able to form my own opinion based on what I see. And I'm sorry, when you give answers and when you're being asked and you fumble around with answers and you say things like, I do not recall, I don't remember going on dates with those women. I do recognize a few of them, but I don't know the other one. Oh, wait, now I do know the other one. Oh, would you date girls in your teens? Not generally, no. I feel like that's not customary behavior for me. That's not saying no. And that's not giving me very much to go on where I think that where I'm going to believe you wholeheartedly. And it was things like, well, I do know this. I always got permission of their mothers. I mean, these things, even if he is actually, I would say even more so if he is innocent, all of these things are bad. All of this response is horrible, because if he is actually innocent, it's even worse because he's making himself sound guilty. And now you've got this thing where there was a release where there was 50 pastors that had signed a document saying they still supported him, they still endorsed him, and a bunch of those pastors came out and said, wait a second, that's not from recently. They tried to make it appear like it was since the accusations and since all these interviews, and they come out and say, wait a second, that's actually not what we did. that was from before during the primaries. That is several months old. We haven't been asked again since the scandal. And granted, some of those pastors said they still did support him, but there were a few that reported and said, I haven't been asked again and I no longer support. And it turns out that had been kind of forged and fudged. And now there's this yearbook thing where he wrote, like, I couldn't have asked to spend, better time and wish I'm more married to a more beautiful young lady. Love Roy Moore. I mean, you're talking about, even if there was actually no illegal sexual misconduct, which if this really happened with this girl that was 14 and absolutely was illegal, let's not make any bones about it. I don't give a crap what you say about culture, this or that. She was 14 years old. The age of consent is 16, and it doesn't matter whether it's a kiss or a little boob tweak. That is illegal, and he should have been reprimanded and charged then. But the idea that an educated man with several degrees, one of them being a law degree, and and he was rising in his career. He was he was a DA, and he is in his early to mid 30s and is regularly seeking out the companionship of teenage girls, even if they are girls of age, even if they're just 18 and 19, but 17, 18, 19, and he is regularly seeking out the companionship of these teenage girls instead of people his own age or women his own age or even women just a few years younger than him. And if that doesn't send off alarm bells to you, that it was multiple young girls like this, not just one or two. It was a lot of girls that he was interacting with and often taking for little dates and things like this. And if that does not seem strange to you, I can't help you. Is it criminal? Maybe not. And even if it is, it's too late now. But all of it's just weird. It stinks to high heaven to me. And I'm not saying he's some crazy rapist, because even these women all said, when I asked him to stop and I asked him to take me home, he did. So even by their accounts, even if you don't fully believe everything, I mean, they aren't trying to completely railroad and say that he did some really awful things. But this whole thing is just not good. I think the response has been handled extremely poorly, and it has been just one more thing to tarnish this very troubled GOP. And I know that a lot of people, I don't want Democrats elected either. I don't want them in control, but that is not a good enough reason to say that he should get to still stay, or that you should even elect him in order to just keep out a Democrat when if there really was misconduct that went on here, and certainly some lies going around. I just can't support that kind of thinking. But I try my best not to be a huge ass hypocrite in that way.
Nah, not at all. All right. So anyway, before we get out of here, because we do need to get out here in just a couple minutes, because we got a bit of a late start. Got another show got to get to. But I just wanted to play a bit of audio that you had actually found for me. And all I have to say about Roy Moore is, when you lose Sean Hannity, who the hell's left?
I named this fifth accuser, but this accuser has now brought forth a yearbook that Moore appeared to sign, quote, "To a sweeter, more beautiful girl, I could not say Merry Christmas. Love, Roy Moore, DA." I looked at the handwriting. I know some people on Twitter have said things about this. Here's where I am tonight. Between this interview that I did and the inconsistent answers, between him saying, "I never knew this girl," and then that yearbook comes out. For me, the judge has 24 hours. You must immediately and fully come up with a satisfactory explanation for your inconsistencies that I just showed. You must remove any doubt. If you can't do this, then Judge Moore needs to get out of this race. This country has way too many issues and problems. The American people deserve 100% truth and honesty. We need correct answers the first time on issues this serious. Judge Moore, you owe that to the people of Alabama, the Republican Party that you represent, and to the country, which is suffering under so many problems.
So yeah, like I said, when you lose Sean Hannity, the guy that's been so far up Trump's rear end that, never mind, I'm not going to finish that sentence. But anyway, when you lose Hannity, who's left? And look, again, I'm not saying whether he's guilty or not. That's not my place. What I am saying is because of several missteps by this campaign, this campaign was already much closer than it should have been in freaking Alabama. This is probably going to be something that will turn the tide because, I mean, I've seen all the social media and everybody, I'm still voting for Roy Moore. I love Roy Moore. Look, I don't buy that. Not when it comes time to actually pull the lever. I don't think, even with it just being accusations, I don't think people can pull the lever for him. And I think this will be just enough to tip it over to the point where a Democrat gets this seat for the first time in a very long time. Which is why I said from day one, as soon as this came out, and I wasn't the only one here locally, Chad Alexander, a guy that's actually been in our state legislature and actually has played the politics game. As soon as this came out, he said, look, folks, here's the thing. This is, and he's been saying the same thing I've been saying. This was already a really close race to begin with. It never should have been. This will be the nail in Roy Moore's coffin, most likely. What he should do now, for the sake of the party, is step aside and then sue whoever he needs to sue if this isn't true. Because what's going to wind up happening is most likely the Democrats will pick up this seat. So if it was a smear tactic, they waited till just the right time to do it. Unfortunately, the damage for that has already been done. So all these people that are like, well, he should just stick to his guns and then deal with it later. No, that's not true. Because at some point you have to put the needs of yourself below the needs of your party. And I have to tell you, if I was in a similar circumstance and I knew I didn't do these things, the last thing that I would be doing would be to stand up and continue to thump my chest and say I didn't do this, because you don't need to do that when you're not guilty. You just, and especially if you're running for a national level seat and you're being smeared, the first thing you do is say, look, I'm going to deal with this. This is not true, but with everything that's going on, I'm going to reach out to the RNC and see if they have anybody in mind that might be able to take over the election for me. So even though you can't get my name off the ballot, when you put in for my name, you'll be voting for this person, not me. And I will deal with this, and I will have it dealt with. And then when I have this all cleared up and you guys can see that I was innocent, then at some point I'll run again. That would have been what would have made sense. Not the stand up and, thump my chest and I didn't do these things. I don't even know these women. Oh, wait, where did this yearbook come from? What yearbook? I'm over, again, it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. I'm over all of it. I'm over the inconsistencies. I'm over the fallacies. It's done. I mean, this is an election that never should have been close in the first place, and it already was. This will be the thing that killed it.
And by the way, bottom line, I also want to say that I'm not saying that there is not a way in which this might be some sort of hit on him, that someone might be trying to make this happen, and I don't appreciate or like that either. But the fact of the matter is I don't think that this many people with this many backup sources saying she told me the story in 1982, she told me the story in 1986, all of that, I just don't think that those kinds of things happen and you keep getting these pile-ons. A few you kind of disbelieve, and then there's a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And so even if it was nothing actually illegal, it just seems at least there's something questionable and inappropriate that went on here, and he couldn't really answer to it. And that's the way it is. And I'm sorry, but I get to judge that. And I'm not going to be told I can't for sake of Democrat or Republican, because I judge the Democrats just like that too. So I want to make sure that I'm doing it when it's the other way around.
Exactly. All right. On that note, folks, we are officially out of time. America Off the Rails will have a slightly later than usual start, just, thanks to the technical issues from earlier. I will have a guest with me on this evening. We'll have Mr. Dale Bellis, the Executive Director of Liberty Health Share. With everybody being involved in open enrollment, we thought this week and next week would be a great time to have him on to make sure that everybody's aware that they do have an alternative. And actually, I have seen some social media posts from folks that are completely flipping out because thanks to the fact that we still have Obamacare, they're facing premium increases of 100, 150, 200, 300%. So stay tuned if you have concerns about that, or if you have recently found out that your insurance is now going to be, astronomically more than it was last year. We actually do have an alternative for you, so I do encourage you to stay tuned for that. And we will be back with you again on Thursday, and hopefully closer to on time, as long as Skype doesn't hate me as it usually does. All right, so on the way out, why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio hanging out with me?
Yep, you can find me at J Homestead on Twitter, JR Homestead on Facebook, and check out misfitspolitics.com.
All right, we're out, folks. Take care. God bless. Remember, tomorrow's hump day, and it's almost Thanksgiving, so yay.